Hello and welcome to Demon Media episode 36. This time we'll be talking about RWBY, Justice League X RWBY, Superheroes and Huntsmen Part 2. There's only two parts. So I am joined today by the lovely, amazing RWBY expert. Awesome. I definitely was just not checking if it was recording or not. It was. Thank God. Um, so this is gonna work like any other Demon Media. I'm gonna talk about, but it's one movie, so it'll be like the first chunk. I'll talk about if Jen has any notes. Jen can spew the notes. In the middle, Jen will talk about if I have any notes. I'll spew my notes. Then the end, I'll talk about, and then Jen, if she has any notes, she can spew out any extra notes she has, and then we'll go from there. And if we have time, we can go over character design and stuff. But if not, then we'll do that in another video. Maybe. Give me more ideas for videos. So, Justice League, X RWBY, Superheroes, and Huntsmen, which should say Huntresses. Mainly in this part. Since it's just RWBY. Or Team RWBY, yeah, sorry, I forgot. My brain. But, yeah, so the only thing I have to say about this is the movie came out on October 17th. So yeah, it came out October 17th of 2023. It was first on HBO Max and digital, and then a little bit later it came out physically. Um, so the beginning of the film, it shows that in the world of DC, it's only been like a few minutes later, maybe an hour at most. We see Black Canary run in and say, "Thank God you're awake," because they were also asleep, like kind of like the ending of the first part. If you didn't watch the first part, why are you watching this? So sorry. They're all back to their normal ages and their normal outfits, still being in the RWBY art style. Um, and just basically talking about how the Grimm have taken over. They're fighting. The leftover Justice League is fighting where they can. Um, but yeah, and then pretty much as they're being dispatched and seeing that there's Grimm everywhere, then we go back to seeing Team RWBY, and they are fighting in what we all assume is Vacuo, words. Um, they're in the desert. They're fighting one of the two-headed snakes. Um, you can definitely tell that this is within, like, after everything that happened in the primary show. If this is canon, which I think is a canon adjacent, if not canon. Yeah, like Ice Queendom, basically, is how I'm seeing it. It could be canon, but it doesn't have to be, So it's definitely after Volume 8 and Volume 9. Oh, yeah, because we're warning 10. After Volume 9 and everything, RWBY is much more taking risks. We see that very early on with her, just how she's attacking the two-headed snake Grimm, and just like barreling in, not thinking, very impulsive. She does win. The rest of the team was having a little bit of trouble. RWBY basically just finished it off, but then cut forward to a little bit later. We see RWBY just running into the room where they're staying, being happy-go-lucky. Weiss and Blake seem concerned. The door is still open, and then Yang comes in, slams the door, and basically becomes concerned big sister. Uh, And yeah, and she basically is just like, "What are you doing? Why are you taking all these risks? What the fuck? Can't lose you too. I can't lose you too." Basically, is the arc for Yang and Ruby in this movie. Basically, um, so it's been a much larger time span between when this would have happened in the RWBY timeline and with Justice League. This would have happened like months later, and they even touch on that in a very soon after clip. But first, we see Weiss calling Klein, which is the first time we've seen Klein in a while since Volume 8. Yay! Actually, no, we've seen him in Ice Queendom, which came out before, after Volume 8. Yeah, technically, if you want to count that or not. If we count the talking doors. Uh, then, at this point, we're really flashing back and forth between the two worlds a lot. Um, we see that in the DC world, they're actively trying to contact Team RWBY and their world, but they're doing it in a very one dimension at a time way. Which, even with the Flash being in charge of that, it's taking a long time, and they don't have that type of time until they figured out that it was more of a parallel world than an alternate world. I'm explaining it very quickly, so I'm missing a lot of the math. So they explain it much better than I am, but they talk about how they're going to find them, and within the call of Weiss and Klein, it's showing that same code that she saw in the first part with Bruce. So they finally got connection to each other, and they started talking, saying that we need help. The DC was saying that we need help. There's Grimm. We don't know what the fuck to do with them, and we don't know what's going on. Ruby's down to help. Um, and then they go off to I think it was like a Schnee Dust Company port, pretty much. Jen probably has like 18 notes on what exactly this is. But and they're trying to get to this place, get to the DC's world, with some help from Cyborg as well, somehow, magic and technology. Um, and they finally opened the door, and but with all the Atlas bots starting to fight them, and they are like replenishing pretty much as soon as one goes down, another one pops back out, just being controlled by Kilgore, I do believe is the current theory. And then yeah, they finally get through the portal. The portal closes, and then it basically just leads into a montage. The animation is very similar in my mind to when they were going home from the Ever After. But this is is showing them having a form of transformation in a very similar way as in the very beginning of the movie. They showed Clark going from his remnant outfit into his normal blue and red and everything into this outfit that you see on screen. Um, and yeah, you basically see like just bits and pieces of everybody's outfits changing, and they kept that a secret for like a good like few seconds, a good like minute almost, like that they changed outfits once they came into the new world. And I think that's a good point to stop and go and say that's the middle point, don't you think? Or the start of the middle, I guess. Mm-hmm. A game theory. Um, but yeah, and like I said, we'll go over the exact outfits and how they look at the end if we have time. but you also see them on screen. So. Mhm. 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 Um. Mhm. Mhm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's alive, alive. Mm-hmm. Dun dun dun. Perfect. Well, all I had to say was like when they first got introduced, like Blake was just talking. Like when they first got back and we were seeing their new designs, she was just talking, and Yang was like, "Blake," and just like we saw that she did not have her cat ears anymore, and like that was like such a big problem for people, like in the comments and stuff, like when the pictures were first showing up, which I do enjoy. That even though they're taking like these risks, like with people like hating it in one way or another, like with the first one talking like having Blake with her robot arm but also in volume 1 outfit, and now Blake without her ears, and like they are addressing it and they are talking about it and saying like there is a reason for this, we promise, basically. Because I think those two were the main two RWBY questions that were going on before they subsidiary like movie came out basically. Okay, so I think that's about it. So now we can go into the final act basically. I was gonna say part 3. Uh the secret part 3 that they did not want to make. Oh god, no. Uh I do not get sued by Warner Brothers and Rooster Teeth today. But after the talk that she had with Superman, um, they did rest for a little bit, but they realized that the antidote for Batman didn't really work. It didn't work as well as they intended it to, so they know that they needed to do something about it. Like it wasn't fully complete, basically. So they had to fix that, and then they also had to go around and keep defeating Grimm and figure out who was actually a part of this, like who. But then they get a call from Kilgore himself, being like, "Guys, I can't deal with this man anymore. He's too annoying." Um, and pretty much they talked about like where to meet and what time and everything. Pretty much everybody was like, "This is a trap. This is a trap. We cannot trust him." And pretty much everybody was on the same page. No matter what corner of the story you're from, they pretty much were all like, "Yeah, this is a trap." Which, yeah. So they did call him back up for when they did go meet them. They called in Weather Wizard, Mirror Master, and there was one more weirdo. Killer Croc, too. But there's also another weirdo in there, too. There's another one, I feel like. It's somewhere in my heart. There was another one. But, anywho, carrying on. They did end up doing the meeting. Everybody went, pretty much. Superman, all of Team RWBY, Superman, and pretty much the Justice League that we knew from the first part. And we get revealed that it was, in fact, Arthur Watts who saved his consciousness, and now we also see him in this new body, a much more taller and lankier mechanical body. The only thing organic looking of him is his head. And now he also has 4 arms, and he also has his weapons that he's used to. The weapons that he had, basically. He's a version of them. So pretty much for the rest of the movie, it's a lot of fight. Get over each other's traumas and stuff. But to get in more detail, Cyborg pretty much throughout a lot of this movie was trying to crack the coding for what happened to them, like what Kilgore and Arthur did to them. So at one point they trap, quote unquote, Arthur and Kilgore in a pretty much a digital virtual altered reality where Team RWBY looked like themselves again, and the Justice League still looked like themselves that in this new movie, how they primarily look. They were fighting, and then Arthur and Kilgore realized that they're in a digital world. So they started taking control of it. Since Kilgore is literally a AI, and Arthur is now a robot, basically a AI and a robot, they basically just took control of it. They were summoning Grimms left and right. Just everything was not going well. But during this, Kilgore was jumping bodies. Again, like with everybody who was here. First I think it was Wonder Woman. Then he jumped into Yang. Then he jumped into Flash, I do believe. and then try to jump. He tried to jump into Superman, but he couldn't. I think. So then Kilgore finally got kicked out of everybody's bodies and stayed out for once. Then and everyone just kept fighting. But then they also turned Kilgore against Arthur. That was one of their primary plans this whole time. While Cyborg had to go around to each different type of Grimm and almost assimilate himself with their systems. So while he was doing that, we were almost getting like a Grimm version of Cyborg, which was very cool looking in my opinion. Because they was trying to take him over. The Code was trying to take him over, so he was looking more and more Grimmy. So yeah, and then once they turned against each other and Cyborg was able to lock everybody down, everybody else left, and Arthur and Kilgore are just in their digital world fighting each other, and pretty much for the rest of time is basically what they talked about. But you know, if these movies make enough money, they'll be back. Uh, but trying to think if there's any other big plot points in the end part that I missed. Because oh right, it was Green Lantern then the Flash, wasn't it? Oh yeah, Green Lantern was last, and then they finally shoved him out of Green Lantern. Right, out of Jessica. Which also just on the point of Jessica, just the sad look on her face when she realized Jean wasn't coming was just great. It was great. It was so sad. And she still, at one point during one of the fights, still used Pyrrha's spear, or at least a spear that looked similar to Pyrrha's or whatever. But that's what I saw. I saw she used a spear. I was like, oh, neat. And then somebody online was like, oh my gosh, Pyrrha's. I'm like, okay. So maybe it was an homage to Pyrrha and Juniper in general, but yeah. Um, but yeah, I think that's about it. Oh God, what did I miss? Oh, right, we did. I have a friend who is just so he hates these movies so much. He hates them with a burning passion. And yeah, it's a whole thing. But right, yeah, and at the end we saw like a team photo, and yeah, there was no another Bumblebee kiss in the background. And and just well, also like I forgot to say this, like while we're talking about like when Yang first used her powers, everybody online who I was seeing was like, oh my god, the color of her flames are the lesbian flag. I'm like, okay, more power to it. If that was the point, more power to it. Um, but yeah, and then pretty much everybody went back home. You know, Ruby went back to Team Ruby went back to being Team Ruby and uh, presumably back in Vacuo. Watch, they just gotta like transport the beacon, and be like, what the fuck? Um, Part 3, the reuniting of Pure Nikos. Oh my god, time travel. I mean, that's the one thing Ruby hasn't done yet. Is time travel. Is a proper time travel is what I mean. It was more time seeing. Um, did I miss anything else, Jen? I I know I was like speeding through it, so I might have like missed something, but that's why you should go see the movie. This is not, as James A. Janice from Dead Meat says, this is not a replacement for seeing the movie. This is just yes. Hash, you can if you want. You can start with final thoughts. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They saw Pyrrha and just lost their mind. Which valid. Mm-hmm. Happy days. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I personally would have liked to see another Team Ruby member possessed as well. Good. It's fine. Yeah. Okay, that would take into if they do that, then these movies are canon, which also then leads the games to be canon too. Uh, or at least Grim Eclipse. But I would like, I would like for something like that to happen. Sorry, I'm yawning. I would like something like that to happen, but with how like tight-lipped they're being on is this canon to Ruby or not, I don't know if they'll do that or not. It'll kind of just depend. I would like them to, though. I would like them to. Oh, the questions. Um. Mm-hmm. No. Yes. Or orange. Imagine then he just looks like Ozpin. Um. I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it, and I think the first part was so much more introductionary because they're assuming that people know who the Justice League is more than they're assuming that they know what RWBY and their lore is. Because to fully understand the story of both parts, you have to somewhat understand how the Grimm work. I think that's why in the first part they were like really hammering that home and figuring and like telling you how Remnant works and with dust and everything because like we know that because we've watched all of RWBY, but people who are just coming in to be like, oh my god, it's Superman and Superman voiced by Carl from The Walking Dead, you know, they won't know what's the difference between dust and dust crystals and all that, you know. So I think that's why part one was so much more introductionary than the second part. Because the second part we did get like new characters added to the roster of who we're seeing. Because like Black Canary, we saw Vixen just disappeared from the movie. Vixen was there and then left. Um, not not as she was not as present as she was in the first film, basically. But yeah, I do enjoy the film. I think the only negative I would have was just Wonder Woman's mouth was so small. It's because they had to make her mouth a little bit bigger. That's why. Uh, oh, same. Yeah, pretty much. And something I did notice in it was that they did address why Batman wasn't acting as Batman-y as he was in the first part. Like he was like, I was a child. Like they were like, we were children with you. They were acting like their children, their child selves. But the only difference is Superman's always been that way. That's just how Clark Kent is. And Diana, same thing. Like these two grew up with the plan and the ability to save people. Batman didn't. You know, at his age, if we're going by like the Gotham TV show, he was partying and stuff. So like he wasn't really being Batman at that time of his age. But I don't know if counting that. But that's just like my point of towards that. But and I think we have enough time to just like lightly talk about like Team RWBY's new designs if you wanted to. So obviously, like I have them all on screen right here, so you can see them. So we're just gonna go in order of the team. So team leader first, Ruby Rose. What did you think of it? Yeah, Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. All their weapons that they got were Batman villain weapons. So that's why they look so like off from them. Because that's not Crescent Rose. That's the Scarecrow's scythe. That's why it looks so weird. And that's why like Weiss had a Captain Cold gun and Yang had Heatwave's gun, and Weiss just had some swords. Probably from Ra's al Ghul, but you know it doesn't matter. It's a sword. Um, but yeah, I pretty much agree with you with Ruby's design. I really do like her hair. The the skin tight suit matches with everything else in DC and everything, mainly with a leader role. Like it very much gives off like Batman vibes with the skin tightness, and same thing with Superman, mainly with the emblem on the chest. But yeah, it looks a little off from Ruby, just from how we are used to Ruby. And I do like how her whole cape's kind of got like condensed a little bit, just more into like streamers and not cape. Um, and I do like Scarecrow's scythe, but I don't like it with Ruby. But I think that was kind of the point. Like they're not. It's not supposed to match. It's supposed to be they're borrowing these. Uh, okay, so Weiss, and we'll just go back and forth on who goes first. So let's go first for Weiss. I feel like it matches her very well with the all still having the combat skirt and everything. Her hair is pretty much the same. I mean, if anything, it's just more let loose. Two of the girls have their hairs pulled back and like slicked up, but the one who had like more put together hair is the one who has the fully out hair, which is good. I did think it was interesting that they didn't give her powers. That it was that they treated her like Batman and had like she's her power is being rich. Um, but yeah, and it matches the colors and everything. But I think that's pretty much it. I mean, the purple tights were a bit off putting, not off putting, just a bit surprising. But that's about it. Yeah, it's more sword. I, yeah, I think they went more for ice than, and that's the only ice weapon they probably had on hand that they could use. Because a lot of other ice villains in DC have their ice powers as themselves, like it's a power that they have. It's not technology based. I definitely, I definitely feel that. Okay, then you start off with Blake. My Blake's pose is really hard to see, so I have to look up a picture of her. Fashion's weird. Yeah, most definitely. I agree. I do. It's the ears. The lack of the cat ears is just so jarring. Because, like, we're so used to her always having those cat ears or having something there. You know, like, if they, like, replaced her with the bow, it'd be like, okay, if they're there in spirit, but, like, they're not. And it's slightly annoying. To the point where, like, people are actually, like, they were, like, editing in her ears. Yeah. So this is not a let's hate on Blake's lack of ears video. Um, I mean, her outfit's very female ninja in DC esque, which isn't bad. It's just you can tell that like they had an idea like okay, she's ninja cat lady. Okay, let's go with this. Basically, and pretty much. Um, and we didn't really do this with the first two, but their outfits didn't really change much. But comparing them with the comics, because they had this type of thing in the comics as well. I'm trying to find a good image of it, but oh, there we go. Yeah, so Ruby's was pretty much the same. Weiss's was a bit more poofy. Blake's was pretty much the same as well. Like Ruby had a pretty much had red sunglasses on. That's the only thing that was different, I do believe. And her hair was just normal. Blake had her ears, which makes the outfit 10 times better. And sleeves. Uh, but I do think it works for what they're doing, in my opinion. But yeah, so now we're just gonna go into Yang, and I'll go first. I like Yang's new outfit better than the one that was in the comics. It is much better than what it was, in my personal opinion. Because, like, I can even send you a picture real quick of it so you can see the comparison. It is much. The new one's much better, in my opinion. The old one is, like, just another Amazonian, pretty much, from, Wonder Woman. Here, let me. There you go. But I do like what they did with it. She's also one of the first females with muscles. This is the first time they actually gave her muscles as well. And also ponytail. I am always a fan of ponytail. Uh, and yeah, I mean her outfit's very nice. It still gives off like an Amazonian vibe without being pretty much a copy paste of one of the Amazonians from the newest Wonder Woman movie. Um, but yeah, I think it's just much better than the comic book one. Hers is definitely the biggest change because in the comics she had a helmet as well, which she did not need. Um, but yeah, I think that's about it for Yang, in my opinion. I mean, yeah. Love a good thigh high. You love a good thigh high. I love a good ponytail. I think mine is like Yang and or Ruby because I really like the hair. The hair is my favorite. Um, Blake and Yang, Blake and Weiss, eh. Let me, a teenage boy, design this young adult male to do this design female outfits. I'll do it. Be fine. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay. I I did see one for a Jean if they went there, but it pretty much just looked like Rusted Knight, just not rusted. Somewhat. We just need to see Nora as an adult. Yes. Always. Oh God. Do it. Cry. I feel that. And I have Arcos. Just that'll be the next thing we commission Ash. Just you and me. We'll split the cost of 4 characters. Ash, open your commissions. We have more ideas. Why someone is talking about me and I am sick and tired of it. No, yeah, but with that, I think we're done. Don't forget to watch this movie. It is on digital. It is on I think it's on HBO Max or Max Now. If not on Max Now, I know it's on Amazon, YouTube. The tired, but yeah. Yeah, I actually got the first part. The day it came out. Part 1 from Walmart. I just happened to go and I saw it. I was like, oh, I want this. It was 5 seconds after I bought it on the TV too. I was like, oh. Now we have 2. But with that, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to follow Jen on all the social media platforms, and of course, give us a follow as well. And yeah, with that, I hope you all have a nice rest of your day, and at least I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.